Mike. Welcome to the Buzz Brew House today. I appreciate you coming in.
Well, thanks for having me. I love it here. It's a great setup.
So I had heard you speak several weeks back at Midnight Club, but it is exciting, all the growth and everything coming up with the distillery. So tell me a little bit about the St. Augustine Distillery.
All right. We were very interested in, really we had a dream of making the absolute best spirits we could from local ingredients, as local as possible, but with focus on the best quality. And we felt like if we could get enough people in through the facility, we'd have an opportunity to sample the product for them and have a little bit of a business. And so we took an old ice plant, the oldest ice plant in Florida, a building that had sat fallow for 10 years. We rehabbed that in an award-winning fashion. We've actually got 3 separate awards for historical renovation for the building. And now we are getting at the rate of about 140,000 visitors a year. And we're the #1 rated item on things to do on TripAdvisor for St. Augustine, and have had just a fantastic time producing great product and bringing jobs to St. Augustine. So it's been fun.
Well, tell me about what's getting ready to happen over the next 6 months with the different products you're launching.
All right. We currently have out in the marketplace a vodka, a gin, and a rum. All of them award-winning.
Hey, hold on.
There we go.
We've got the vodka, which we'll be sampling in a minute.
Cane vodka.
We have the gin, and we have the rum. But wait, there's more coming, right?
There's more coming.
Uh-oh. All right, tell me about that.
In the next 6 to 8 weeks, we'll have out a barrel-aged gin, which is going to be the first gin in the country that's actually been aged in vermouth barrels. We have a red vermouth or a sweet vermouth barrels we've aged in, and a dry vermouth or white vermouth barrels. And so that gin, aged in those vermouth barrels for several months, comes out just spectacular. It's almost like a martini in a glass, but it'll be made for really mixing, and so bartenders will really go crazy with that. And then in the fall, we'll have what we've really been working on, which is our bourbon. We've been distilling bourbon since December of 2013. We opened to the public in March of 2014, and we've just been putting away barrels the whole time, just throwing all our capital into barrels. We've got over 1,000 barrels of bourbon aging, and we'll start releasing that in mid-September, tentatively.
What's the process of figuring out the recipe that you guys want to go with?
We figured out our recipe on the bourbon by A, sampling a whole lot of product. B, we had to decide what kind of spectrum we were looking for. So we wanted a high wheat bourbon, something like a Maker's Mark or Pappy Van Winkle, as opposed to a rye or a spicier bourbon. We wanted ours to be more approachable. And we actually had a guy named Jake Norris, who was the original distiller for Stranahan's Colorado whiskey, which won a tremendous number of medals about 6 years ago. When they came out, they were an early craft whiskey. And we had Jake Norris craft our mash bill, which is essentially the recipe, or a big part of the recipe. And then Brendan Wheatley, our head of production, has spent the last 3 years working with different yeast strains and working with different fermentation times to really refine the recipe. And another important part of a bourbon recipe is the wood. And we use arguably the most expensive barrels that you'll ever see in a bourbon program. Bourbon only goes in the barrel once. You only use that barrel once for bourbon. Then it has to be sold off for something else like scotch, or we age our rum actually in used bourbon barrels. And so typical bourbon manufacturers just have cheap barrels. We use barrels that are wine quality staves, very thick staves. We use 3 different types of wood: Minnesota oak, Missouri oak, and Kentucky oak. We use multiple chars in each of those woods, so we have a matrix of about 25 different barrel types we use, and then we blend all those for the final product. So the recipe isn't on a recipe card. I mean, it's an evolving, ongoing experience. It's kind of fun.
So it's time for the gotcha questions.
Yeah.
This is the hard questions.
Love it.
What is the most difficult part of your job?
Whew.
What do you not like about this job?
Probably the most difficult thing is balance. because we're juggling so many things as a startup company. We are now in over 950 points of distribution in the state of Florida between bars, restaurants, and retailers. We're in the state of Georgia now, in Savannah and Atlanta, Sea Island. And we're going into 3 more states this year. So we're working on that. At the same time, we're trying to build out our infrastructure as we go along and manage 360 days a year of tours. So it's really finding the balance of knowing what to focus on.
Now you guys you pride yourself on local. So tell me about
Correct.
the local products that you guys use.
We use there's a myriad of them. Florida sugarcane. Our vodka and our gin are based on Florida sugarcane, so we use that. Our corn and our wheat for our whiskey are all from Florida. We have to get our barley out of state because nobody grows barley in Florida, and occasionally we'll have to get some out of state grains depending on the seasonality. We use all that. We're very proud of ourselves on our sustainability. We believe that good business and good environmentalism kind of go together. So we recycle our water. But one of the other interesting things we do is our spent grains. So we take the wheat, barley, and corn, ferment it, pump that into a tank, into a still. We distill the low wines off that. You're left with what's called spent grains. Most distilleries pump that out and dispose of that, throw it away. We have a local farmer, one of the farmers who provides us their corn, Wells Brothers Farm, comes up, picks up those spent grains once a week, feeds them to his cattle. So we're a zero waste facility. So we're integrated in the local infrastructure that way, and we're also a partner with the Florida citrus industry, where we are we're pairing our cocktails when we go out with Florida citrus, so that we're really pushing Florida citrus as well.
Where are you from originally?
I grew up in Stuart, Florida. So I was born in West Palm, grew up in Stuart, Florida, went to University of Florida for school, and came to Jacksonville after Gainesville.
So you're a Seminole fan.
Yeah, not at all, but that's okay.
We have a great
love 'em
Bobby
all.
Bowden portrait out there.
There you go, which is fine. I'm a little different sports fan. I want Florida State to win every game but one. I'm not a hater. I want them to win every game but the Florida game, and I want the same thing for Miami. I want the same thing for all the in-state games, because I think it raises the bar for everybody. And quite candidly, we're the same way with local distilleries. We want to help and have helped tremendously other distillers that are starting out, because we think it helps everybody's game. We want people to be in the business because we want consumers to recognize it.
So when you're not working, what do you enjoy doing?
I like to surf and paddleboard. I like to fish. My family loves to travel, often to the warmer climes. My older son and I enjoy snowboarding, so I try to get out there a couple times a year, but I've got a little knee issue right now. So I like to stay pretty active.
And your favorite not-for-profit that you think does great things in our community?
Wilson Children's Hospital. And hands down, I'm a father of 4. All 4 of my children were born at Baptist Hospital, because we knew we had Wolfson right there, and the Nemours Clinic with every type of specialist is right there. And it's one of those types of things for a community, you hope you never need it.
But it's there.
But boy, when it's there, and I'm telling you, it is a spectacular facility with spectacular specialists. And the more time you spend looking at that, the more you learn about it. It is a phenomenal resource for our community. And by the way, the reach, it's a phenomenal resource for folks up to Brunswick, out to Lake City, all the way down to Daytona and Orlando.
Excellent. Well, I would like to sample a few of these real quick with you. So, we are going to start with the vodka. Now, obviously, not chilled.
Correct.
But we're going to start with, if you describe the flavors, tastes, and not that it matters.
Right. Well, this is our Florida cane vodka. It's made from a cane neutral spirit. We distill it, and you'll see the liquor industry is full of all sorts of marketing innuendo. Okay? So you'll read 12 times distilled, all these types of things. And that really refers to how many plates are in the still, all sorts of things. We distill ours once, filter it once, because we want to leave some of the character in from the cane. So what you have, and again in craft distilling, we do it in pot still, so we do it in a batch still, and you have the first part that comes off the still, it's called heads, very high alcohols, has a lot of almost like ammonia type flavors and stuff, and we just dispose of that. We actually use it for cleaning supplies. Then you have the hearts, which is a good product, and then the low alcohols or the tails, we take those and redistill them. So this, we filter it once. It's a very clean vodka. It'll have hints of, a little hint of molasses on the finish. Very smooth. And
very smooth.
And you get that little hint of sweetness on the finish. We have, it mixes great on its own, right? I mean, so it makes a spectacular vodka martini. We make it in the Florida Mule. When we sample cocktails at the distillery, and we do that because it's tough to get people to sample spirits straight often, but we'll sample them in a cocktail and then let them taste it.
Really? It's hard to get people to sample spirit.
It's hard to get them to differentiate straight liquor. There's not a lot of people that are straight liquor drinkers.
Well, Nostrovia.
And this is won a gold medal in the 50 best vodkas in the U.S.
Excellent.
Double gold. This is a spectacular product.
So, would you suggest we go to the rum or gin next?
Let's go to the rum next. Rum's next.
Okay.
Our rum, we did in the fall. We did 4 Discovery Series. So we did Discovery Series creatively entitled Discovery Series 1 through 4. So we had a 1 through 4. But our rum is made from a mixture of regional molasses and cane syrup. Okay? So we take molasses and cane syrup, we experimented with different ratios of each of those. Then we also experimented with different yeast strains. We age it in a bourbon barrel. And the reason it's got a little bit of color to it, most rums get aged in barrel to take a little of the heat off, and then they filter the color out. We don't do that. We age it in a bourbon barrel, so a little bit of grassy overtones. And this is a 90 proof gin, and we did that because it mixes better in cocktails. Very smooth, and you'll see the little bit of caramel and vanilla that comes from the oak, and that's that bourbon barrel character.
I don't know why you'd ruin it and mix it with Coke or anything else.
Well, you know what? It's funny. My favorite drink with this is a rum old fashioned. So you just take a little bit of simple syrup, 2 ounces of the rum, a little bit of Angostura bitters, and spectacular. It is a great sipping rum. And this, again, is aged for a couple months in bourbon barrels, and we're also working on an aged rum. But like anything, to get a 5-year-old aged rum, you got to wait 5 years. And we have a very distinct corporate philosophy that we don't buy product and remarket it. Everything you see, we make. So you'll see, if you see a company that's been around 2 years selling a 12-year-old bourbon, I can't tell you who made it, but I can tell you who didn't. You know.
Here's to you. Here's to me. Best of friends will always be. If ever you and I shall disagree, I'll meet you at the St. Augustine Distillery.
I love it. We're patenting that.
All right.
That's a great product.
The third and final for now product is going to be your gin.
Correct. And this is our New World gin. And what we do at the distillery, you know, our mission is to educate, entertain, inspire, right? As we produce spectacular spirit. But one of the things we really do is convert people to gin drinkers. Because everybody hears about gin and they go, oh, I don't want that pine tree character. Because gin typically has a lot of juniper. Ours, being a Florida product, a lot of citrus notes.
Smell it.
You see that? It's still got coriander, still has a juniper backbone. It's at a 94 proof, and that's done very purposefully. We hand grind all of our herbs. There's no artificial flavors in here. They're all hand ground, 13 different herbs and botanicals. And it's made to mix in a cocktail. So when you shake a great cocktail, you're still going to have a lot of backbone there. So at 94 proof, taste it. That cane neutral spirit wraps around your tongue. You get a lot of citrus hints. You get a little bit of juniper backbone. But see how smooth that is for a 94 proof? And that's where people go, I can't believe it. But we have it higher proof to preserve those botanicals and to mix well in a cocktail. And anybody that is a citrus vodka drinker, my wife is one. She'd like a citrus vodka and club soda. She now drinks this. And it makes a spectacular gin and tonic. We have tonic syrup that we sell at our gift shop, and many bars use a tonic syrup now. It makes a really spectacular gin and tonic.
Absolutely incredible.
And well, 94 proof, you go, I can't believe it's that high because it's so smooth.
Well, typically during interviews, we may or may not want to welcome back the guests.
Yeah.
So if we could create a standing arrangement that at least 4 times a week.
Yeah, you can do it.
Around 9 to 10 in the morning.
Well, you can do it in the pub here. It's wonderful.
So it'd be great. Well, Mike, I appreciate you coming in today. Thank you for visiting the Buzz Brew House, and we look forward to visiting the St. Augustine Distillery again very soon.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I had a great time.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Perfect.